Hi, I'm Will. I've worked in recruitment since 2013 in a variety of roles within recruitment agencies, RPOs, and in-house recruitment teams. I'm currently recruitment manager at Together, managing a team responsible for delivering all recruitment activity across the group. As part of my current and previous roles, I've conducted and supported countless numbers of interviews across a wide variety of sectors, job specialisms, and levels of seniority. I've often found that candidates do find interviewing to be the most nerve-wracking part of the whole process of securing a new role, and even senior experienced candidates can really struggle with the interviewing process. As such, whilst there's no one-size-fits-all approach to interviewing, in this video we aim to provide you with some guidance on how to approach your interview and how to present yourself within it in order to achieve a positive outcome. We'll talk you through the different types of interview, how to prepare and approach the interview, and also some idea in terms of what the interviewers might actually be looking for within the interviews as well. Firstly, in terms of the different types of interviews, before we do start to talk about that, we'll take a step back to that period between submitting your application to a role and hearing whether you've been successful in securing an interview or not. It's important to highlight that after you've submitted your application, you shouldn't necessarily expect a response straight away. Whilst, in my view, it is best practice to inform candidates of the status of their application within a week or so at the very most, some often larger companies or those without a dedicated recruitment team can take some weeks to come back to you if they do get back to you at all. So you need to respect that your application may not get reviewed as quickly as you'd like, but do feel confident enough to follow up if you've not heard anything back in what you feel is an appropriate time frame. If you are successful in securing an interview, the first thing to understand is the type of interview that you've been invited to. And all businesses manage their process in the same way. There are usually three types of interview scenario that you would expect. So the phone interview or a phone screen, face-to-face interview, and also an assessment centre. So we'll talk a little bit about each of those now. The phone interview is often used as a way to screen and further shortlist candidates before they're invited to a face-to-face interview or an assessment centre. As such, it is important for you to put as much preparation and effort into a phone interview as you would for a face-to-face interview. It's the first chance you'll get to speak about yourself, your experience, and the role itself with either a recruiter or the hiring manager. This will sometimes, say, be a recruiter, but other times it will be somebody from the team you may be working in, or even a combination of the two. So it's important that you prepare, you understand what you're going to talk about in terms of your experience, and also the types of questions you might ask as well. Face-to-face interview is exactly what it says on the tin. It's meeting the hiring manager and usually a member of recruitment or HR face-to-face, generally at the company's office. Every company will have a different approach to how they conduct those interviews and the rigour around them. Some will be structured, competency-based interviews with role-specific questions as well. Others may be less formal and more of an open discussion. And that can be from company to company, and it can also be from hiring manager to hiring manager. Each will clearly have a different approach in terms of how they want to structure their interviews. Nonetheless, as a candidate, it's always important to ensure you prepare thoroughly and don't become too over familiar in the interview either, regardless of how the hiring manager is behaving within it or what they're talking about. Assessment centres are more commonly used by companies for things like recruiting for their graduate schemes or for roles where they may have a number of different positions available at any one time. They allow the company to see a number of candidates. You usually do it within groups of anywhere from sort of 5 to 20. Allows you to see them on the same day, at the same time, all doing the same task. So you can really get a really good overview of who might be most suited based on the requirements of the role. Again, each company will have a different approach to the way they structure their assessment centres, but in general, you'll be assessed across a number of activities, which can include things like group activity, where you would work with other candidates to solve a particular problem or work on a particular task. You might have a face-to-face interview as part of that assessment centre as well. And then there may be role-specific tests or at times some form of sort of verbal or numerical reasoning as well. And there are potentially other tasks or assessments they might do depending on the role and that you're applying to. Then I want to talk a little bit more around the importance of preparation. It's important to highlight the need for that preparation, and as a recruiter or a hiring manager, it's really obvious within the first 5 minutes of an interview who's prepared and who hasn't. A simple question like, tell me about what you know about our company, or what is it that really interests you about this role, it quickly catches out somebody who hasn't prepared, at which point it leads the interviewers to question how serious you are about the role, your attitude, and ultimately what you're going to be like as an employee. So preparing properly can be the difference between securing a role and not, regardless of how experienced you are and what your background is. So as a starting point,